to go out there, remove the barricade, and then you have one of the senators complain because he got splattered with a pepper ball. I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't have been there.
That's what it was. Markwayne fucking Mullin, that guy. Okay. As you know, they're trying to conduct oversight at Delaney Hall, where a lot of the people who are there, who aren't even criminals, they're people without criminal records, are staging a hunger strike. And the politicians, McIver, are going there to try to, Andy Kim going there to try to conduct oversight. And he got shot with, first of all, he's not a danger. These people aren't a danger to anyone. So we used to talk about use of force. Is that appropriate?
No. And I mean, listen, there's a couple of things that I want to. Markwayne Mullin just should always shut the fuck up, because nothing that comes out of his mouth is intelligent. And that, that statement in and of itself, coming from a law enforcement official, is just asinine, because what he's telling you as an American is that you don't have a right to protest. And that senator was exactly where he should be. In fact, he's exactly where every elected politician should be, is leading some protest of some kind somewhere in America right now in this exact moment. You're in the opposition party. You say you don't have any power. Well, you do have the power of your platform, and you should be out there like that gentleman, putting your body in harm's way to raise awareness and raise attention. Plus, I saw an interview that he gave in the immediate aftermath, in which he talked about, like, he was there as a mediator between the protesters and between the ICE officials. And he was actually crossing over into the police line periodically to converse with the higher ranking officials that were on the scene from ICE and from some of the other law enforcement agencies that were present to try to coordinate. And then he ends up at, they knew exactly who he was. He's the only guy there in a suit and tie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's in a suit.
His hands up over his head anytime he's walking around, and they still target him. And so I don't think anybody that's watching this needs to be convinced of ICE and CBP's intentions when it comes to dealing with peaceful protesters. And it is certainly not to respect their First Amendment rights. It is to quash them by using heavy-handed tactics, like shooting at them with pepper balls and deploying CS gas and pepper spray, in these types of environments.
And if they can't destroy their bodies, they're like, how about we destroy your economy? Because now he's talking about plans that they're drawing up to stop international flights from going into Newark. If you haven't seen that clip, we have that.
That local law enforcement wouldn't respond. And so I visited with the White House today, Sean, and I said, if they're going to not allow us to go out and arrest the worst of the worst, and then when we call for assistance at the facilities, that the street, it belongs to the city. If it belonged to us, we would take care of it, but it belongs to the city, and they're barricading our employees from coming in and out of the facility, then why are we processing international flights into the airport there? And we are currently, which we're not initiate yet, but we're currently drawing up plans to say, listen, in these sanctuary cities where the local radical left Democrats aren't allowing us to do our job and enforce federal laws, then we shouldn't be processing international flights into their cities either, because they don't want us to enforce immigration, but they want us to process immigration at their facilities. Nothing about that makes sense to me.
Let me tell you something. They're aiding and abetting law breaking, and
this just needs to be addressed once and for all. And since the Democrats don't seem capable of making this argument, I'm going to make the argument as a former law enforcement officer who spent 2 decades in a inner city police department. And that is the idea that sanctuary cities are refusing to allow ICE to do their job is asinine. They're just not doing ICE's job for them. ICE has amassed a war chest of $178 billion from this administration. They have more money, more resources than the United States Marine Corps. They have more money than all federal agencies combined. And now they have more manpower than all federal agencies combined. To say they can't handle a situation like that is ridiculous. They're just not getting assistance from state, local, and municipal law enforcement agencies because, like I've said time and time again, those agencies have a responsible to keep all of their citizens safe, to include people who may have questionable legal status in this country. And we've gone through that time and time again as to, why it's important for them to maintain those relationships. So they're not going to turn those people over to ICE. ICE can still go in there, conduct their investigations, their immigration raids, and enforcement operations. They just don't get things handed to them on a silver platter by local municipal agencies. And that's how it was throughout the entire tenure of my law enforcement career, whether you were, a so-called sanctuary city or not. But I would say to Markwayne Mullin and the rest of the administration, shut down those international airports. I fucking dare you. See what happens. Stop processing international flights in and out of this country from sanctuary cities, which happen to be the places that people want to go to, like New York and San Francisco and all of the big major international hubs in this country. And see, the Antifa army needs a recruiting, moment. And this would be a great one because how quickly would you adversely impact more people than by shutting down international travel in this country? Commerce, just, people who are getting ready for the summer to go in and out of the U.S. on vacation. Do it.
Which is why, this is the thing, Mike, this is why it's a bluff. It's a distraction. There's no way in the world that the airline CEOs aren't on the phone right now with the administration going, are you kidding me right now? The damage that this would do to their bottom line, especially now that we're dealing with the increased fuel prices and the World Cup is about to happen. And it's absolutely insane. There's so much infrastructure and operations around what happens at an international airport that it would impact businesses that are probably Donald Trump's businesses since he's in hospitality and businesses of his friends. And so I highly doubt they're going to try this whole collective punishment of the entire economy just so they can shut it. No, they're just saying this so that they can split the progressives, Democrats, people on the left, so they can go, oh, no. Now I've got to be against the protesters because the protesters are going to ruin my summer vacation. I think it's going to have the same impact that the DHS shutdown had, which is people are going to know who the culprit is. The Republicans are the culprit. So if they were to go forth with this and try to shut down all of this CBP processing at international airports and at international flights, it would just backfire, and they freaking know it. And I think they have Markwayne Mullin saying this stuff because he's dumb, and he's dumb enough to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, Markwayne Mullin is one of those people that, the words are coming out of his mouth 5 minutes before they're being processed in his brain. And so I understand that, but I don't put it past the administration, maybe not to cancel international flights in and out of these sanctuary cities, but how about deplete them of manpower and resources so that the processing takes astronomically longer than is normal, and try to steer traffic to other places just out of spite. Because it's not like we haven't seen that before from this administration.
I mean, you're right. They could very well do that. And I know last time I came into the country, I didn't even need to pull out my passport. A machine did the job. There were no CBP folks involved at JFK. It was literally, I just looked at a camera and knew who I was, and a green light came on. And I do not have global entry. I just a regular traveler. And so what this would do is impact mostly international travelers. And Jokes on this administration, international travelers do not want to come to the US right now anyway. And as a matter of fact, I think it's 40% of American women want to leave the country for good if they could. So I don't know, guys. We got to get it together, and getting it together means not entertaining things like UFC fights on the South Lawn of the White House next to a crater where the East Wing used to be. I am so fucking angry.